I'm Thomas Hunt.
And I'm wearing a hat to cover my bald spot because you guys are mean.
And this is the Bad News Network. A terrible tragedy occurred this week after a gunman opened fire in a grocery store in Colorado. The event was instantly politicized, so we'll do our best to break down what we know so far about what happened and remove the speculations as to why. 21-year-old weakling Loser Coward was arrested and treated for injury. The arrest video shows Loser Coward being escorted by officers with blood running down his right leg, but it is still unknown exactly what caused the injury. According to sources, Loser Coward approached the King Soopers grocery store in Boulder, Colorado, Monday at 8:15 in the morning, wearing a plate carrier and brandishing an AR pistol. He killed 2 people in the parking lot, one still in their car, before continuing into the store. Currently, Loser Coward is charged with 10 counts of murder and an attempted murder charge. In the aftermath, the internet, the media, and politicians have descended on the story with their own proclamations as to why this happened. At the forefront of focus is the renewed call by Democrats to ban the ill-defined assault weapons and semi-automatic weapons alongside injection of racist motive theories. Here's what we know about the suspect. He was born in Syria and became a naturalized citizen sometime before high school. He attended Arvada West High School in Arvada, Colorado. Family members and former classmates that were interviewed by various media outlets described Loser Coward as hot-tempered and antisocial. His brother indicated to police that he was a little paranoid, thinking that his phone and computer were being hacked and monitored. His social media indicated a dislike for Trump and support for refugees. But no smoking gun that many of the racist or political narratives have been looking for. The why rests solely on Loser Coward, who upon being arrested refused to talk to police and reportedly asked to speak to his mother. We will have to wait to find out the reason for killing 10 innocent people in cold blood. Until more information comes to light, we here at BNN pray and give our condolences to all the families affected by this terrible and senseless tragedy.
The Supreme Court has decided to review the decision of a lower court to waive the death penalty for the remaining Boston bomber. The decision, some 5 to 7 years ago, stemmed from some low-life attorney who cited jury selection issues and a failure to properly screen jurists on bias as reasons to keep the scumbag alive and on taxpayers' money. So apparently the Supreme Court will have to look and see if it's okay to put this douchebag down. That said, even if they reverse the absurd decision to stay his execution, it will likely be decades before he even comes close to a termination date. I maintain what I have said this entire time. Just give him to us. The Bostonians will sort it out.
In case anyone out there thought this administration wouldn't be any less of a circus than previous, here's a new gem for your consideration. Apparently, Kamala Harris and Bill Clinton, along with Hillary and their offspring, Chelsea, who they will be continually hammering into the public eye, are going to be holding a joint discussion seminar on empowering women. To which Juanita Broderick responded by asking, "Is this a fucking joke?" If you're wondering who Juanita is, she is one of the women who accused Bill Clinton of rape. That, coupled with Harris, who publicly said she believes them when referring to women accusing Biden of sexual abuse, leaves this whole thing looking like a giant shit show before inception. Our bet is probably is, but that depends on what your definition of the word is. Is?
In his first press conference, President Biden was asked how soon the media would be allowed unfettered access to all of the migrant facilities at the US-Mexico border. I emphasize all because right now the media has access to only one that is super staged to look like the prettiest detention facility you've ever seen. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said that they are working around the clock to solve this issue. Yes, I'm sure you're working as fast as possible to make sure everything is cleaned up in the facilities before the media arrives. That's the point. When Biden was pressed again for a definitive date, he responded with the typical email trope of as soon as possible. When pressed a third time, he stated, "What are we talking about again? Come on, man."
Apparently, Iceland is going through some stuff, geologically speaking. Sidebar, everything in Iceland sounds like something a Viking would yell as they charge into battle. Icelanders have been bracing for an eruption for several weeks from Mount FAGRADALSFJALL after the island recorded more than 50,000 recent earthquakes. Number 1, living near a giant volcano. Number 2, living somewhere where 50,000 earthquakes barely makes you blink. I think movies have overhyped what a volcanic eruption looks like. When I hear a volcanic eruption, I picture a huge bloom of ash, lava falling out of the sky, Pierce Brosnan driving an invincible Jeep through a town that is completely on fire. This, however, was not the case. The eruption from Mount FAGRADALSFJALL was the first eruption of its kind in over 800 years. The volcano has poured out over 300,000 meters of lava, which is pretty impressive for a volcano of that age. Most volcanoes that old can't even get up in the morning. When reports that the volcano was going to erupt, people immediately started evacuating the island for their safety. Nope, just kidding. They did what all white people do. Get as close as possible to extremely dangerous lava and take selfies. Some people got close enough to cook hot dogs on the lava, which is something I have never wanted to do and never will do. Seeing how 2020 went, I'm not super confident that this volcano won't be the death of us all, but I guess ignoring the signs of our inevitable doom to cook meat on lava is more entertaining at least.
2021 is following 2020 by continuing to kick us in the balls while we're down. This week, Emmy-winning actress Jessica Walter passed away at the age of 80. Walter's career spanned over decades, including an Emmy-winning performance for Amy Prentice. Some of her more recent roles include boozy socialite Lucille Bluth on Arrested Development and Mallory Archer, mother of everyone's favorite spy. Do you want tears? Because this is how you get tears! Fair winds, madam.
In one of the pettiest moves in history, a Georgia company paid a man his last paycheck with pennies. $915 worth of pennies. Andreas Flatten was owed this money from his previous employer after leaving the job in November. After months of trying to get his money, Andreas eventually reached out to the Georgia Department of Labor for help. A normal person would have just paid the $915 that was owed to Andreas. But Miles Walker, Andreas's previous employer, is much more petty than a normal person. Last week, Andreas and his girlfriend came out of their house and noticed a large pile at the end of the driveway. Generally, when you hear a pile of money, you get excited. This was not one of those times. At the end of the driveway, there were 90,000 grease-stained pennies. When asked if he dropped the pennies off at Andreas's house, Miles had an amazing excuse. He said he didn't know if he dropped the pennies or not, which is by far my favorite excuse of all time. Next time Nick's asked if I drank the last of the coffee, I would just tell him I don't know if I did or not. Let's see how that plays out. Now, part of Andreas' nightly routine is to wash as many pennies as he can so that he can actually turn this into a usable fund. Even though Miles is a huge douche for doing this, Andreas and his girlfriend are looking on the brighter side, remarking on all the cool pennies that they have found. That's adorable, and clearly you guys are better people than me. I would have driven that pile of pennies over to Miles' house, throw them through his window, take a shit on his porch, and then bounced. But that's just my 2 cents.
Looks like Donald Trump has taken the saying, if you can't beat him, join him, to heart. This week, creepy lizard person Jason Miller, a longtime Trump advisor, said Trump will be returning to social media in 2 or 3 months, and he'll be doing so on his own platform. I guess getting kicked off every social media platform would make someone pretty salty. Miller said that Trump's social media platform is going to change the game. My guess is it will be exactly like Twitter, just a little more huge. During his time off the main social media platforms, Trump did try his hands at some more fringe social media sites in order to get his fix. He tried streaming on Twitch, but was kicked off after calling a 9-year-old kid. He reactivated his MySpace, but even Tom wouldn't want to be his friend. And he even started an OnlyFans, which actually blew up because people paid him to keep his clothes on. With all that failing to come to fruition, Trump said he is going to turn the game on its head. I don't know who's asking for Trump's social media, but it's definitely not me. Miller said everyone wants him, and he's going to bring millions and millions, tens of millions to his platform, showing that Miller is pretty much just turning into Trump, which is a generally accepted practice for lizard people. Miller is also calling Trump President Trump, which is weird because he's definitely not the president. Whether you're excited about the platform or not, I'm really excited to see which name sticks. The leading prospects are Trump Space, Trumper, Donnie Spot, and the Chum Bucket.
Have you ever been driving and seen a car trying to make a U-turn but fail miserably, leaving them perpendicular to oncoming traffic? Then after they do a 3-point turn and fix their mistake, you're left wondering who that moron is and how they got their license? This week, Captain Jackass on the SS Dipshit was cruising through the Suez Canal and he got his ship stuck perpendicular to oncoming traffic. For the geographically challenged, such as myself, the Suez Canal is a waterway that connects the Red Sea through Egypt into the Mediterranean Sea. The canal is responsible for 10% of the world's trade. 10%! That's a lot of trade. Apparently, there were really strong winds of 31 miles per hour that the captain couldn't detect ahead of time. The winds turned the ship, so it's now blocking the entire canal, preventing anyone from getting through. I feel like your one job as the captain of the ship is to make sure you know what the weather is and to make sure you don't crash into the port. Captain Dipshit claims that he was distracted from his duties when clicking on ads for hot singles in the area. My favorite part of this story is the rescue team. They sent one tiny excavator to come dig the ship out. It looks like a Lego brick in comparison to the ship. I guess I'll have to wait another week before I can finally get my industrial strength adult Depends. You had one job!
This week, American patriot Andrew Almar was told he would have to remove his US flag from the back porch of his apartment because it was too noisy. You know what else was too noisy? Fucking freedom. Almar was told he would be charged $200 per day for the flag if he continues to fly it from his balcony. I don't know about you guys, but the US flag I have in front of my house is pretty quiet. So unless they released a new line of flag with bells attached, I'm kind of confused as to how this is an issue. Even if there was bells on it, that would just make it more patriotic. And yeah, America. He believes the complaints are coming from his upstairs neighbor who thinks he has a personal vendetta against him. This must be one silent dude. If the neighbor was really targeting him, you'd think she'd just go after him for playing music or watching a movie too loud or the usual Karen shit. This further proves my point that nothing ever happens in North Dakota. It is so quiet you can hear a flag flapping in the wind. F you, North Dakota.
This week's Florida man is actually a Florida woman. Edith Riddle was arrested in Jacksonville, Florida, ranked America's most beautiful city this week after boxing a child. Riddle had been called into her daughter's middle school to discuss her violent behavior. When she arrived at the meeting, she had a boxing glove on one of her hands, which she claimed was super glued to her and she couldn't remove it. After the very productive meeting, Riddle and her daughter made a beeline for the cafeteria where the 34-year-old woman helped her child beat the ever-loving hell out of another student. Police were called on the scene and arrested one gloved dove. I really want to know what was said in that meeting. That could go down as a single worst lecture about improving your attitude in human history. Suddenly, the girl who used super glue on her hair doesn't look as dumb anymore. And with that, I'm Thomas Hunt.
And I'm Tim Kennedy.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and I just had my first dose of the vaccine put into my arm, so I need all of you to monitor me for the next 30 days. If I start talking about lizard people, do the right thing and end me. As always, make sure to go to rangerup.com and use code BNN to get 25% off of your entire order. And if you're an OnlyFans kind of person, look up Nick and Matt at Nick and Matt. Have a great weekend.